Rolling. All right. Welcome, foolish mortals. Wait, let me try that. Welcome, foolish mortals. Now, that's Mickey's Roundtable. I'm your host. I'm Roger. I've got Caitlin and Katie here, and they wanted to talk about the Haunted Mansion, so I said, sure, let's talk about the Haunted Mansion. For people that don't know what the Haunted Mansion is, at Walt Disney World, Disneyland, and around the world, what is the Haunted Mansion?
After you, I insist.
Okay, so it is a slow-moving dark ride. I'm pretty sure it's like that for every single across the world. But basically, it is just to find the words.
It's a haunted house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
In
no,
a
it's
way,
not
but
a
it's
haunted
not-
house.
Okay.
It's a haunted mansion.
It's a haunted mansion.
So it's not scary, but more so it's just like a story telling adventure, I would say. You know,
Okay.
just going through the mansion.
Pretty much like a
That's-
thrilling dark adventure.
Yes.
this
A
mansion.
thrilling dark adventure. I don't think I've heard it described that way. That's pretty good. No, I wrote on it last night because I wanted to be ready for today and then and when we shoot this. And but you mentioned two things. It's fun, and then you
Yes.
said that it's also that you mentioned that there's a story.
Yes.
Why? How is a haunted mansion fun? Explain that to me.
So
Let's see you try that.
as someone who feels like spooky herself, because like I'm really into horror and things like that, and I would not compare it to horror at all.
Nope.
But I feel like it's family friendly enough that where everyone can enjoy it, because anybody can ride our attraction. It doesn't matter who you are. But it's just kind of like that ambiance of like just ghosts and
It
ghouls
gives you the
and-
spooky, eerie feel without giving you the terrifying. I'm gonna leave your kids like.
yeah.
Going
It's not
through
Tower of
nightmares.
Terror.
Exactly.
What's fun? The scariest thing in the whole attraction, I think, is the very beginning before you even get on the ride.
Is the
You,
stretching
you,
room.
you go in the
Yes.
stretch room,
Yes.
and there's the voice, "Welcome, foolish mortals," and the whole thing.
Mhm.
And then those portraits stretch, and they reveal that they're funny and they're humorous and all this. And then all of a sudden, the lights go out,
Yes.
and then it's the scary element that I won't mention because I won't spoil it for people. But although we might spoil some.
Yeah.
But then as you go through, it does get more fun towards the end.
Yes, it does.
So
Because when you're going through the mansion, the last, I guess, eerie part of the ride would be the attic.
Yeah.
Which it's all about Constance in that room, and that's one thing I like about each room. I feel like each room has its own little story. Even though the ballroom is before the attic, which is more fun, I would say once you leave the attic, that's really when the fun begins. And that's when all the ghosts are singing and dancing, and there's so many around you, and then that's basically the end of the ride, you know?
And you have your own little mini stories within that graveyard. So
Yeah.
you get a little bit of everything.
yeah,
So
and so I wrote it last night just to refresh my memory and
Mhm.
everything, and it moves along. By the time you're through one, there's something else there, and then something
Yes.
else, and it
Yeah.
does tell a story. It is more scary at the beginning and more fun at the end. You
Yeah.
don't see the ghosts until after you go through the seance.
Exactly.
And that was all very purposeful and very well done. It came from different ideas
Yeah.
from different Imagineers that, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, and they molded them all together so
Exactly.
beautifully. All right, and I'm guessing it's
Yeah.
your favorite attraction?
It is one of my favorite
One of.
attractions.
Favorite
it's
attraction?
also one of my top 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
top 3. What are the other 2?
Oh, that's put me on the spot.
I would say
Like
top
that.
3 for me too.
So definitely be Mansion fighting for first place.
Okay,
Second one would be Guardians over Epcot.
okay.
Me too.
But-
That's like my
Yeah,
number
my
one.
stomach doesn't allow that.
But I also love thrill rides. So
Same.
Okay,
But then I'm also a Carousel of Progress kind of girl because one of my
Oh.
Walt's old visions. So
Yes.
I'm a sucker for it.
I'm going to
I'll
have to
take
tell you my
20 minutes.
Carousel of Progress idea after we're done here.
Perfect.
Because, yeah, it's fantastic.
and then I would say my third one would be Pirates.
Okay,
Yes.
very similar type of a ride, although it's a boat ride instead of a
Yes.
doom
Well, it's
buggy.
an OG ride.
Yeah,
So that's the first ride I worked in the area.
okay,
So
okay.
it does have a piece of my heart. But I also already loved Pirates and Haunted Mansion before coming to the area. So
That's how it was for me at the Mansion. So I understand what you mean.
Yeah, so, no, it is iconic in so many ways, and we mentioned the music. That song is the same song that's played throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just at the end, Grim Grin and Ghost come out to socialize. It's done in different ways throughout, but it's the same tune and the same,
Yeah.
and it's so classic and so iconic linked to that ride. And then Pirates doesn't really have a whole lot of dialogue other than,
There's the redhead scene.
there's scenes, but there's not necessarily, there's voices and stuff in it, whereas the
Yeah.
Haunted Mansions, Welcome
It's the
Foolish
ghost
Morning,
host.
it's,
That's who
Yeah.
talks to you throughout the
and
entire
so you
ride.
have that, but you don't necessarily have that in Pirates.
I think the only person or thing that talks to you besides the ghost host is Leota. And Leota,
Yeah.
you hear her voice, which is
That and Constance, that's pretty much about it.
yes, and
Yeah.
Constance.
Yeah, but it's, again, there's so many classic
Mhm.
elements and how it came together is so fantastic. But it's not the one in Magic Kingdom that we're most familiar with here, because that's where we are in Florida. The original was in Disneyland. Have you
Yes.
been on the Disneyland version?
I have not, but I've
You
seen
have not.
enough.
Okay.
Yes, I went last year for the first time and I loved it.
And how is it different?
Well, their stretching room is an elevator, and ours is not.
Okay.
And there's a reasoning for that. So with the water levels here in Florida, also with the Magic Kingdom being built on top of the tunnels, we can't do an elevator. So it's just really a straight shot through. It is an illusion. You know, is this haunted room actually stretching? Or is it your imagination? You know, whichever one it is. You do stay in the same place. So people do get us a little bit confused
All the
with
time.
Tower of Terror as well, because they think it's an elevator, it's gonna drop, and I'm like,
Oh,
you're not
yeah,
strapped
no.
in or anything. Like, how are we gonna drop you? You know, but
And what's neat is that at Disneyland, where it was originated, they did it for a practical reason. Oh, we've got this train track we put around the park. What are we going to do? And they go down
Yeah.
and go under. And their
see,
Pirates
that
goes
doesn't affect
over a
us.
waterfall. Since we don't have that, since the train track is so much further out at
Yes.
Magic Kingdom in Florida, it's different. But then there's also different iterations around the world. You have not been, we were talking about this earlier, you're looking forward to going to Paris.
yes,
Where
in
it's
September.
Phantom Manor, which is slightly, I don't even know because I've never done it.
I haven't seen any videos of it or anything,
yeah,
but
Mystic
I know it's
Manor.
It's a complete 180 video.
Yeah,
I've seen the video.
You've seen the
of it,
video,
and it's
okay.
completely 180 from what you've seen, like Mansion.
Okay.
It's not as eerie and spooky. It's a little bit more uplifting, so it definitely would be less of a fear factor
Okay.
for younger crowds.
Are they the one that has the monkey?
No, that's
No,
gonna be
that's
Shanghai.
Mystic
Shanghai.
Manor in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Yeah, they're
Shanghai is the
definitely
only one
more-
that does not have
Yes, that's right.
a haunted mansion. And then Tokyo's, I guess, is like brick for brick, like the one in Florida. They picked it up, except it's in their Fantasyland instead of,
Okay.
because they don't have a New Orleans Square, they don't have a Liberty Square. And I was reading this last night, that it was originally supposed to go in their Frontierland, Westernland they call it, in Tokyo. And then they ended up putting in their Big Thunder Mountain Railroad there instead, in the same
Okay.
space. And then so that ended up in Fantasyland, which I don't know if it makes sense.
Interesting.
Although it probably has differences from the Florida one. I'm not familiar with them. Someday I hope to find out.
I feel like, and this is not like a stab at any other parks, but I feel like ones that are not in the US, they don't really focus on, I guess, the importance of where they put it. If that makes sense. I mean, I think even in Disneyland, it's a
Some places have them like thrown about in a very weird like aspect. Like,
Yeah.
why did you place that there? But I mean,
but I feel like ours is like perfectly placed.
it
for
makes
Liberty
sense the
Square.
way it flows.
Yes. I don't think Disneyland in California is that far off the track, but I feel like other parks, like, I don't think it matters as much.
I'm not sure. Yeah, because they seem to fit the theme. Mystic Manor, from what I understand of it, fits an Adventureland type of a theme. And the Lord Henry Mystic is a member of the Society of Explorers
See,
and
I don't know
Adventurers.
anything, so maybe I'm,
So,
crazy.
Yeah,
but
you don't. What are we doing here? No.
I
We're here to learn and talk. That's why we're here. Because everybody knows different things, and that's what's fun.
Yes.
So,
But that is our biggest difference, I think. And they also have Hatbox Ghosts.
which we're going to be getting.
Yes, we have no clue when.
We just find out. when
And we
come
don't
in.
know where. It'll be like the train. Oh, guess what?
Yeah.
We installed Hatbox Ghost last night. Oh.
Yeah, this is my hypothesis. This is not fact. Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do not speak for
agreed.
the company in any kind of way.
Agreed.
But I think that they are going to and saw the Hatbox Ghost whenever the movie's coming out, because Hatbox Ghost is in the movie.
Okay.
Brings
Okay.
brings more of the hype to the mansion.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like how the Jungle Cruise movie brought so much attraction to the attraction.
Oh yeah, the lines were quite a bit longer after
Yes.
that movie came out.
Um,
And so this is
I
going to
think
be
they're
the
waiting.
second. So this is the movie's coming out sometime this summer, 2023, right? Or
I think it's.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm not sure.
I don't even
It's
know.
good. They've got a trailer out.
Yep.
Okay.
But so this is the second movie based on the Haunted Mansion attraction. The first
Yes.
one was Eddie Murphy. And then they did a Muppets. I watched these last night to refresh my. Yeah, the Muppet one I think was actually better.
I really liked the
Because
the
been
Muppets.
part of why I think the Muppets was better because they are the Muppets.
Yeah.
And everything is goofy and silly and fun.
Yep.
That thread was throughout the whole movie. Whereas the Eddie Murphy one, there was like an imbalance between funny and scary, which is where the attraction nails it right on. They like
Yes. But
got
that
it right
is-
on the money.
That is a lot of misconception, though, is that the movie was based on the attraction.
Oh, yeah.
The attraction was not based on the movie. And a lot of people, guests that get off the ride, like I'll hear them as they walk by me and they're like, did you know that this is based off that movie with Eddie Murphy?
That is
And I'm
wrong.
Like, that is very wrong. And I do step in and I'm like, actually, this
Jungle
is an
Cruise would
opening
get
day
would get the
attraction.
same contents and all that. So
Yeah.
I suppose that's a pitfall that you come into
Yes.
with those kinds of things. So yeah.
And there's a lot of people who haven't seen the movie, which is interesting to me as like someone that grew up loving Disney. That people haven't seen it.
And of course, the Haunted Mansion movie was not as anywhere near as popular as what the Pirates of the Caribbean movie,
Yes,
which
correct.
came out around the same time, from what I
Yes.
remember.
Yes.
Pirates
And-
blew the box office off its door hinges and the whole thing, and then
Yeah.
Mansion was like, yeah, they didn't quite get,
I heard something, and like I said, this is just hearsay. It's nothing for sure.
Right.
But someone told me that they had an Eddie Murphy animatronic ready to go in.
Really?
And they had a Captain Jack Sparrow, like Johnny Depp,
Yeah.
ready to go in. And whichever movie, like, made it bigger,
Okay.
like, blew out the water. Which, honestly, the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion really fell
So it
down.
begs the question, where did the Eddie Murphy animatronic end up? Because they do
Yeah.
reuse animatronics all the time, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You've got,
Maybe
you
it's
know.
not that they had it ready.
Or
Maybe
they
they
had-
had the plans
Oh,
ready.
maybe.
That would make more sense.
But they were wanting to, like, and I'm so happy that they
it's
did.
probably Emperor
Agreed.
Nero over,
I
over
would've
at Spaceship Earth or
hated it.
something. Wait a second, that's Eddie Murphy.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that is one of the biggest reasons why we have Johnny Depp in
In
the Pirates ride.
Okay.
Is because it was such a popular attraction that people would come and be like, where is he?
Yeah, yeah.
Why isn't he in the ride? And so they put him in the ride. And
Well,
they
when
put Eddie Murphy in
Disneyland
ours.
first opened, people would ride Snow White's Scary Adventure.
Mhm.
Where's Snow White? Snow White didn't appear in the ride, or Peter Pan, I don't think, appeared in the ride, Peter Pan ride originally. And
Yeah.
because the idea was you were that character living through the story. And then
Okay.
people said, oh, well, wait, where is this? And they had to put them in for popular
See, I
demand.
never rode the
'Cause-
Snow Whites.
No,
It was
I've probably ridden it at Disneyland. I don't remember. And then it's not here anymore in Florida, so.
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
remember the
I don't know, but I think
Maybe I'm too young.
I think that's probably but it reinforces the idea that the movie was, or that the ride was based on the movie if you put the character in there. So that's kind of a
Yeah.
double-edged sword. But it is a great way to cross promote.
Yeah, for
No.
sure. I'm very, very happy that they did not put Eddie Murphy into our ride. That's one thing that I love about Haunted Mansion, that it's like it's original.
It's
Yeah.
its own thing,
It's
and you
from
don't,
the
you don't,
beginning.
you don't need to have that like crazy movie star face to help bring that kind of
Yeah.
like hype into the ride.
It
It's
is
its
it
own
is
hype.
iconic on its own,
Bingo.
but it doesn't need Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
It's fantastic and amazing and wonderful as
And
Eddie
so
Murphy
was
is.
Pirates.
Yeah.
But that little sprinkle with Johnny Depp was really cool, and that's something that like I feel like couldn't not be there.
It added another sub
Yeah.
story into Pirates that I don't know if you would need for Haunted Mansion.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
for sure.
yeah.
100%. Yes, and that's like one thing that I love about Haunted Mansion, that it is an opening day attraction, at least for Walt Disney
For
World.
Walt Disney World, yeah. Yeah.
Because originally it was an idea of Walt's, which, you know, his vision for first Disneyland and then, you know, Disney World, which unfortunately he never got to see us here. And Haunted Mansion wasn't able to open because of the World's Fair for Disneyland.
Yeah.
So they had the building.
And it sat there, and it sat there, and it sat there, and it sat there. Yeah. No, because I forget which stuff we talked about before we started rolling the camera, before you got here, and which stuff we started talking about after. But the early concept drawings of Mickey Mouse Park that was going to be by the studio before it ever became Disneyland, there was a haunted house.
Yes.
I've got you just off camera here. My map here it's the first Disneyland map that they produced for guests and whatever. There's a haunted mansion on there before the haunted mansion was a thing.
And nearby the haunted house is the Wax Museum, which is interesting because that was one of the concepts that they were
it was going to be, as you exited the attraction, it was going to be the Museum of the Weird or whatever it was going to be. And it evolved and changed. But yeah, if the World's Fair hadn't happened, hadn't slowed its progress, we probably wouldn't have had Doom Buggies and a ride through it. It would have been completely different, and maybe wouldn't have even lasted because they would have said, "Oh, we can't get enough guests through this, and it's taking up too much space, etc., etc." But it is so. Factoid: it is the oldest building at Magic Kingdom, probably in Walt Disney World property, right?
I believe it was the first thing to be finished.
Okay,
I could be wrong.
They were building both Disneyland.
Yes.
Oh, what was that?
I think I read the same thing as you did. That would be
Haunted Mansion was the first attraction to be finished.
Okay, yeah, because they were building it at the same time as Disneyland's Haunted Mansion. So they were saying about the video I was watching last night. They were making like two of everything as it went through, and no, it's just this perfect combination of all these things coming together in the right way at the right time to create something that's really classic and wonderful and very Disney.
Yeah.
Quintessentially. I don't know what quintessential means. That's okay. We're going to use that word anyway.
I like it.
It works. So I think that probably about covers it pretty well. We'll sign off. Yeah. So until next time, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about next time. If either of you wants to come back and talk about anything else Disney, I want to talk about Disney. If you want to talk about Disney, I want to talk to you. Come by, whatever the subject is, if it's Disney related, I want to touch on it and have a conversation, because talking about stuff that you're passionate about is fun. So, all right, till next time. All right, we'll figure this out. Okay, one more thing we decided to add. What were you gonna add something?
So I was gonna talk about the cast members at the Haunted Mansion, the maids and the butlers.
Yes.
There is
the ones that are yelling all the time. Move all the way down. Fill in all the available space. Those are the ones.
It's not yelling.
Okay.
It's spieling.
It's spieling. Okay.
With feeling.
Very loudly.
Very loudly.
Because it is very loud in the attraction.
It is. Yes.
People sometimes are like, "Why are you being so loud? Like, you don't need to yell." And I'm like,
if you would
it's very
listen to
loud
me, I wouldn't have to yell.
There's a difference between yelling and
I'm
projecting.
teasing. Okay.
Yes. But
anyway,
with being a maid or a butler at the Haunted Mansion, there's a lot of misconception about what we are supposed to be, what are we supposed to act
what
like.
the role is.
Yes, and a lot of people have this understanding that, oh, like you're mean, like you're angry, and all this stuff, like you have to, and that's not what it is. It's far from the truth. You know, you can have your own personality as a maid or a butler, you know, because from the Behind the Attraction episode, they mentioned like, what are we gonna do with happy haunts, or, you know, scary, and like they made a way in the middle. Yeah. And I will say the stature of being a maid or a butler is supposed to be, we're in mourning. That's really what it is. And we're not angry or anything like that. We're just proper and
dignified.
We're serving the Master Gracie.
Yes.
And and some people are like, they don't understand, I guess, what we're wearing and what we actually are. And like, we're maids and butlers. Yeah. We don't really. There's not really much to that. You know, we're not the stores. We're there to assist the mansion. Yeah. And assisting on the ride. And it's funny when people are getting on, they're like, it's a little dirty in here. And I'm like, yeah, we're running behind. Watch your step, you know, into the buggy. But yes, there's a misconception about that, but it is really, it's an honor personally for me to be able to wear the maid or the butler outfit because, you know, we are very inclusive. We get to wear whichever one we feel like wearing that day. It's awesome. And we can have, luckily for us specifically, we can have like little props as long as it's in theme.
Yeah.
For me personally, I have my keys that I wear on my apron, which
is very cool.
yes, and that the person that assessed me at the attraction, she had keys. So she was the only one at the time, you know, about almost 3 years ago, that had them, and then I started wearing them, and then there have been maids and butlers after me that, you know, they.
Oh, hey, that's a good idea. I should steal it.
Yes, and you know, as a maid, you can wear the feather duster. Butlers, they have like the
pocket watches. You'll see some that have like little spider brooches here and there.
Yeah, as long as it's.
They frown on that sort of thing at the railroad. Anyway.
Yes. No. There's some things that are a little too much out of. But you know, as long as it's tasteful, like there's not a problem with it, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
You can
Well, and this is what we talked about on my last episode, the Jungle Cruise. Is one of the things that I love about the Jungle Cruise is how much of your own personality every individual skipper brings something to it, and you get to do that at the mansion. You get to be your own character a little bit, come with your own funny puns. And I was going into the stretch room the one time, and Emily, who was here on my Jungle Cruise last time, said, "We're on a deadline, people," and I'd never heard anybody do that before. It's like, okay, that's fantastic.
We have the puns.
You've got the puns, and you got all the jokes and everything
personally,
as well. So.
for me, my favorite to going into the stretch room is, I will say, make like a hatchet and chop chop. We have time to kill. I do like the deadline one. That is really good.
That's a classic.
But you know, there's the classic away from the walls into the dead center of the room and
drag yourself to the middle of the room.
People really love it when I say like guests. They think it's so funny when if you can see the floor, there is room for more, which is apparently not something that is only for Haunted Mansion. I've heard like other casts say it like at other attractions, and I'm like, hey, we say that.
That's our bit.
That's our bit. You know, I make up my own stuff at Merge and things like that, you know, to inspire people to step forward and
so you can get very creative at Merge. Especially with Lightning Lane. You can really have a lot of fun with them.
Yes, and it's cool. I guess we're skippers, but we're spooky.
Well, people that work both attractions will refer to themselves as spooky skippers.
Yes,
so
spooky skips.
Maybe it's good that we did 1-2 episodes are on Jungle Cruise and Mansion.
Yeah, for sure. But yes, it's an honor to work an attraction that is kind of like one of Walt's babies. You know, it's amazing and
you can also like put your own mark on it, like how you were saying, like piggyback on the whole like we're in mourning.
Yes.
The whole like concept, the whole like 5 steps of like grievance. You can kind of play with that a little bit.
Yes.
Like further outside the mansion, you can be a little happy, you can be a little chipper and kind of pose a little bit of
fun.
fun.
Well, it's happy haunts. The haunts are happy, but you're not.
Yeah, that's one thing though that guests get mad sometimes because they're like, why are you smiling? You're too smiley. You shouldn't work here. And I'm like, I can do whatever I want. You know, like I don't have to be mean.
It's not in the OG that you can't smile.
Yeah, exactly.
It probably is, but
no, it's not. You can
Did you look through there?
No, you can if you want to.
Okay.
You don't have to be mad all the time.
Yeah,
you know, or I guess that's what guests think is that we're mad, but we're
not. Which is silly. That's because they're mad over at the parade.
Maybe.
Right.
They're actually mad.
Anyway. But yeah, so that's
okay. That was a good add-on. All right, this time we're going to sign off for real. So till next time, I have no idea when that's going to be or what I'm going to talk about. Depends on who I find and what they want to talk about. All right.
Signing off.